Yo, what up? Welcome to Go Gadget Green Late Night. Shout out to my people live streaming with me on my Facebook group, Green the Color of Love, Green the Color of Love on Facebook. On YouTube, we on Go Gadget Green. On Go Gadget Green, we do a variety of things. And tonight, I wanted to talk about something that was interesting to me, not just because I'm a man, but I listen to a lot of audio books on Facebook, or I mean on Amazon Audible, and I noticed I had some credits, so I was just browsing through books, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna step out of my normal science fiction nerdy, holistic topics, and I said, let me listen to, I'm a single brother, and I often think about sisters and how to please the woman, not just physically, but on all levels. Obviously, we all want to be pleased and feel those things, but, I like to think about how I can do those things, and make someone feel good. And so I came across a well-reviewed audiobook that spoke about female orgasms and putting women first and things of that nature. And it's very interesting so far. So I chose to call this video Female Orgasm, How Can We Help, Part 1, because I think that from my personal opinion, and first let me say this: I am no expert. I am no self-proclaimed great lover. I'm not trying to say my opinions and ideas trump those of anybody else's. I just have an opinion on a topic that I was thinking about, and I just thought it'd be interesting to share. So once again, before we get going, for my YouTube people, I'm live streaming on Facebook in my Facebook group, Green, the Color of Love. And to my Facebook people, I am recording live for a video I'll post on YouTube as I try to move forward in my podcast series. So now, female orgasms, how can we help? Um, I'm not about to tell nobody how to perform the secret spots, tantric massages. I'm not really going to go there. What I will say is, though, is that in listening to the narrator read the book, there's a part where they speak on where women, she spoke on letters she receives from women about where they are in their relationships physically. These women love their husbands, love their partners. They're not all in relationships, and they all have this yearning. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm going to speak less to the disciplines of a lot of things, because this, I just want this is for entertainment purposes only. There we go. Take it how you want it. And a lot of these women speaking to something they're yearning, something they want to feel that they're not getting from their partner. And one of the things I took from that, trying to be fair about it, trying to be objective and see it from both sides, I'm like, okay, I know a man's approach to a female orgasm sometimes is really non-existent. He doesn't even have an approach. Some men are not even thinking about it. Some men, I don't know what they might think is just going to happen. They hope they get lucky. Some men may base their sexual performance on what they've done in past relationships, so they'll treat all women the same way and approach all women the same in regards to that. And most men are not even thinking about it outside of performance, and that's really what I'm going to try to stay on. what are we doing to get to this magical place? It's not magical because it's real. What are we doing to get to this place? What is our approach? Why is there a disconnect within so many relationships in regard to this process? Why does it seem that so many women feel that they're lacking? And why do so many men feel more confident about something that maybe they should not be confident about? And this is not to take shots at anyone. This is just to explore and be open about a topic that I think, and I'm going to try to speak to all sides of it. So obviously me as a man, and wanting to be a giver, wanting the woman to be pleased, we all know it's easier for a man to get to this place faster, but there are sometimes people have barriers and shields, women and men. They have things, their experiences from the past or lack of experiences are the cause and effect of where they are in their life. So in one breath, you could look to your partner and say, man, you're the reason we can't get to this place. But I think before we get there, you have to look at yourself and say, where am I in regards to that? And how do I want to teach my partner in regards to what's going on? I think that in relationships, there's too much expectation as opposed to a willingness to build. And when you have expectation without a willingness to build, you'll find yourself frustrated a lot quicker because you want something that's not happening fast enough. And speed shouldn't really be a thing. With that, I do think we all have a right to see our partner, we all have a right to want to see our partner working on something that we would like. And I think that those things have to be communicated, and I think we have to understand there's a process with those things. It's not just something that happens. When you first meet someone and you click right away, sometimes that clicking is based off conversation. Sometimes that clicking is based off of personality, likes, things you have in common. And if you sleep with someone, communication is absolutely important. Peace, Miss Wright. And if you choose to share yourself physically with someone early in meeting them, you maybe could connect sexually. But I think a lot of people forget about what it takes to sustain that thing that felt good in the beginning. And it's unfair to compare where you're at in year 5 to where you were when it was new, because when it was new, it was something you had not experienced, or it was something that you enjoyed experiencing because it reminded you, it was your preference. It was something you liked. It was new because it wasn't the same person, but it was a preference. It reminded you, it makes you feel good. It gets put in the bracket of things that make you feel good. But now here we are 5 years later, and we're used to one another. And in the beginning, there wasn't enough communication about how to sustain the pleasure. And once again, we're not just talking about physical pleasure, but everything that makes you feel good about a relationship. And how does this relate to the point? It's like, oh, female orgasms. What is he talking about? The point is that I believe that before you can even talk about the physical part of the female orgasm, you have to talk about where you are in your relationship. Not just because someone's cheating or not paying attention to you. I'm just talking about where are the two people communicating to even be able to build up to a great sex life. Because I don't believe it just happens. It can just happen. And even when it just happens, how do you sustain it? the whole point here tonight is about how do you sustain it. This is part one. I believe you sustain it in really building, opening up, being vulnerable with one another. I think that's huge. I think that's huge. Don't you realize there's some people that can barely look at themselves in the mirror when they're undressed? Just think about this for a second. There's people that can not look at them. They're alone in front of a mirror in a private place, and they can't look at themselves in the mirror because there's whatever the reason. I won't get into the reasons, whatever the reason is. So imagine what that must feel like to be having someone else see you like this. So we're just speaking of vulnerability. Everybody doesn't have that issue. But we're just speaking to the vulnerability of not having clothes on, right? Clothes make you feel secure. You go and shop and buy something and say, oh, this is going to look nice on me. You know, I like how this looks. This is my style. This is how I like to do it. This is going to feel comfortable. So you wear your clothes. When you strip down out of that, you know, I think we can agree it's a vulnerable state. To share that vulnerable state with someone, excuse me, is special. And I think that before you give yourself to someone, you should understand certain connections you have, because if not, it can be awkward when you're in that vulnerable state, because you could be open to being vulnerable and they not even aware of where you are, or vice versa. Or maybe you're both open to being vulnerable, but you don't know how to, once again, communicate that. So, in my opinion, as no kind of expert or successful relationship person, I am very single. I think there has to be a level of understanding, a willingness to mess up. I'm willing to stumble in front of you. I'm willing to not say the correct thing in front of you. You know, I'm willing to let go in front of you. I mean, you know, sex is really that important. Now, we all know you can have sex with a complete stranger and it can be amazing and great. So we're not just talking about a physical thing, because that's difficult to sustain, right, in a relationship. So I want to deal with it more from the approach of being in a relationship that has lost some of its sparks or fire or whatever you want to call it, intimacy, and finding a way to rekindle that, finding a way to sustain that. And how can we help is me sitting here from the man's point of view saying that I need to be able to communicate with my woman. I need to be able to ask her, yo, how do we make this happen? One of the things that one woman said in an audio book that I thought was interesting, she said she never has problems having orgasms with men, right? So some of the women were saying how they have a problem having an orgasm with a man, but they can get there alone easier. So the person that is helping them, the author of the book, is saying, well, if you can do it by yourself, you can do it with the man. What kind of blockage is going on mentally? Where are you during this time? Where is your partner? And it got me to thinking, like, word, you know. Now I'll talk about myself. When I heard them speak about it, I was like, wow, I never could put it in words, but I could see where at times I could seem like I'm in another place. Can you imagine trying to please someone, but actually being somewhere else mentally? You know, there's a disconnect in that. There's already something wrong, because now I'm trying to control the situation. Let me do what I think works to get this person to this place. There's no vulnerability in that. There's no you could try to roll the dice and get lucky, but why do that? If you're in a relationship, this is someone you're married to. This is someone that if you pass away, you expect them to take care of the family and the children. You leave your stuff to them. Like, So why isn't sex taken that important in a relationship? And I think us as men, I think we have to be more open-minded to the other side of it to please our women in that regard. I think we have to be open-minded to being able to express what we like and do not like, and how that can adapt. And I think that we have to look at where we are in our day-to-day relationship. How you making this woman feel day-to-day, not just sexually, but in being appreciative to who she is in your life. And to that point, on the other side, for the woman, what are you doing to make yourself, appreciated? You don't have to do anything, but it goes both ways. That goes for both the brothers and the sisters. So, when this topic comes about, a lot of times it deals with performance, and that's really important. But I mean, let's talk about it. When you've been with somebody for a long time, you kind of know where they coming from. You know how they get down. You know how they move. I'm not saying you can't learn new things and surprise someone. I'm just saying when you're married for 80 years, 50 years, 20 years, 10 years, you get to learn someone. You get to learn their tendencies. You can anticipate surprises. You can anticipate different things about them. And it's not so much that you get bored, but it happens. You get used to them. So I think it's important to be open-minded about and communicative about community. You get what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. I'm not even about to make it crazier than it already is. I think it's important to be open-minded to your approach. Understand how many elements connect in the relationship to the relationship being successful before you even get physical. Before it even becomes physical aspect of it, understanding the biology. And then every woman is different in that regard. Because some people have been through trauma, sexual and non-sexual. Some people don't have the same experience as everyone. And without having experience, there's less opportunity to learn who you are, to learn your body. And if you don't know yourself, it is hard to explain to someone what you want and what you feel. And this is why it has to be a mental approach before the physical action. No, you don't always have to sit there and have a long, drawn-out conversation, but the day-to-day, when you're with your woman, you're with your man, you spend a lot of time together, there is a lot of opportunity to talk. You don't have to wait until you have sex to have sexual experience. You don't have to wait until you have sex to have a sexual experience. It can happen in conversation and understanding. It can happen in a letter. It can happen in sharing literature, the type of movies you like to watch, understanding just the different things about your partner that lead to the successful physical side of sex. So, part one, how can we help female orgasm? Men, open-minded, vulnerability. Women, patience, understanding, communication for both. We have to be able to, when you're happy when your partner tells you something that they like about what you did, you have to be okay with hearing something that is not so pleasant, because that's the only way you can build. That's how you get to a great place. So this is just part one. This is just the beginning. This is just the introduction. Female orgasm. Go Gadget Green late night. Go Gadget Green on YouTube. And remember, it's not an explicit thing. More so, it's about getting understanding, about getting relationships in a place to have success before you even enter the bedroom. A familiar place, a comfortable place, a place where you feel protected and you feel safe for both parties before you even engage in an action. So I hope that I hope that it's something people are interested in, people want to talk about. You can hit me on the inbox and the comments. Let me know what you think, where the topic should go, where else we can explore different ideas, do's and don'ts. It can be fun. It can be exciting. It should be a learning experience. And at the end of the day, the goal is to make our relationships successful, because as we know, successful relationships lead to successful families, which leads to successful communities, which leads to a successful culture. So we want all that good stuff. So peace, love is love. Thank you for messing with me on the late night. Go Gadget Green, the color of love on Facebook. We out.